Good morning. We're coming to you live on Mountain Monday Morning, Mountain Fun Life Radio, and we're glad you could join us this morning. And now you know the drill. What do we need them to do?
Click and share.
Click and share, and also to get on text, tweet, Twitter, all that sweet stuff that you all do, all that high-tech stuff, and let everybody know that Mountain Monday Morning is on. You never know what Mountain Monday Morning is what we're going to come up with. You just never know. Oh, we got something interesting this morning, or at least it is to me, and I think it will be to you all too. So be sure and let all your friends, your neighbors, even your enemies know that Mountain Monday Morning is coming live to you this morning. And I think we've got rain in the forecast, and sometimes Monday morning can be kind of blue and gloomy, and people just don't want to get up and get going. So just get up and grab you that extra cup of coffee and catch us here on Mountain Monday Morning, Mountain Fun Life Radio, and we'll be right back. Sevier County Fair, presented by Farm Bureau Insurance. Exhibit intake begins August 16th. The fair runs from August 28th to September 3rd. See www.seviercountyfair.org for the complete schedule. Thank you, Sevier County Fair, for sponsoring Mountain Monday Morning Show. And we thank you very much, Sevier County Fair, for being a sponsor of Mountain Monday Morning. And since I was a kid, I always looked forward to going down to the. It's not a very big.
Fire.
It's not a very big one like some of the big cities have. It's just a little country town type setting. But it's oh man, when I was a kid, I always enjoyed going through and looking at the animals, all the chickens and the cows and the sheep and the ducks and all that, and then going in and seeing the display of all the cooking and the canning and the women that have all that lined up,
the
just
candy
like
man.
Yeah. And I mean, it was, and then the rides, of course, I always enjoyed. I didn't like the ones that would spin around so much because I didn't like being dizzy. It made me sick. But the Ferris wheel was okay. But some of the tubs and the spinning things, just twirling you around. I stay away from those.
I'll leave that alone.
Yeah, I didn't want to lose my cotton candy and my candy apples. I just didn't want to go there. Anyway, now a lot of people can handle that. They can spin around, on their heels
Upside down.
Dancing. And Bob, he can do some twirling. Have you seen Bob Denny, our director out here? Have you seen him? He's been cutting some shines and shenanigans on that. He can do that. We're still trying to find some good footage of that too. But anyway, we appreciate Sevier County Fair, and I need to put my pen up here.
So you look very important.
I got my cell phone too. Do I look?
You look happening.
That's what's happening, brother. I'm getting high tech here. I'm learning. I can even send out a text on it now, and I can even make a phone call on it, and I found out how to answer it too. So I'm doing pretty good with it.
That's good.
I'm doing pretty good. But we were going to have a special guest. I was going to try to get a special guest this morning, a lady from Canada, with our kind of a sister church, we call it up there, with the Abundant Life Worship Center. She was coming in and going to be with the ladies' conference. By the way, the ladies' conference that was going to be presented will be canceled because she's in hospital. She couldn't make it in. And she is going to be, when she gets better, and we're praying that she'll get better soon, going to be beginning a mission into Cuba. Getting access to getting the word out over in Cuba. And so I was going to have her this morning on as a guest, so maybe we can get that later. But I do want to let everybody know that the latest conference temporarily is on hold. It will happen, not just yet. We're going to wait till we get the word when she will be. She was one of the main speakers and the presenters of it. And so we will be letting people know when that gets rescheduled. And by the way, Bob Denny's been kind of puny. We didn't have her, in case you all are wondering, and some of you have been getting with me on Messenger saying, what, I can't find the video, I can't find where you all were at on Friday Mountain Music Hour. Well, you know, we had to give Bob a break, and that's understandable. You can't, there's some things, you know, you just, you can't, you got to recuperate. And
it happens to the best of us.
Happens to the best of us. But anyway, it's just something, it's life we have to deal with. By the way, I am your host, Robert Ombie, along with Mountain Man, a.k.a. Wayne McCarter, or you can flip that around, vice versa, whichever way you want to do it. He's here. Either way you put it, he's here. And you know, you've been through a stretch, too, this weekend that I didn't know about until this morning. Your wife is back in the hospital.
Yeah, she's...
And I see you again with the same problem.
Same problem.
And so, and you were up all night?
Pretty much. Yeah, I don't sleep much.
Didn't sleep much?
Mm-mm.
And in spite of all that, you lost your hat?
Yeah, I changed oil in it and left it out there to dry, and neighbor's dog liked it real well, so it just took it.
When you had to run the hat,
I had to go
the dog
2 doors up, hunt it in the yard, yes,
well,
sir.
You know, that's that dog's living dangerous.
He likes my hat much as I do. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we're going to, why don't we just go back out now, let Bob take us out to another one of our fine sponsors. And I believe this one is Sky High Air Tours.
Flying higher and higher and higher.
Well, I've developed what is probably the world's worst business plan. It's not about making money. It's about taking people flying. That's my real goal. I got to make money to keep the airplane flying. But you don't own an airplane like this. An airplane like this, you're a caretaker. It's been around for 90 years, and I hope it's around for another 90 years after I'm gone. So I just got it for a period of time, and during that period of time, like I said, I'd like to just take as many people flying and share the experience of being in an open cockpit with as many people as I can. So come out and go flying with us.
Absolutely, come out and go flying. This is a great experience. You need to bring your kids to do this. You need to bring your parents to do this. You just won't have a better adventure on a Saturday afternoon.
I always appreciate a second pair of eyes. Boy, did we pick a beautiful day to go flying. I love all them white fluffy clouds.
It is an absolutely gorgeous day. Thank you for taking us up, Mark.
Oh, you're welcome.
Flying higher and higher and higher.
Welcome back to Mountain Monday Morning, and we're here this morning, and we're going to do our best to give you some information that we hope that you will like and benefit from, and you can join in our little humor spots and our mountain ways and mountain life and mountain lingo and all that. You know, we just mountain folk and we talk mountain, and that's a unique style within itself, is that this mountain dialect, and a lot of people...
You can tell us apart now.
Yeah, well, anyway, Mountain Man's got more of it, I guess, than I do, but anyway, people comment and they like that. That's part of this program they like. And we
noticed that all through my travels.
All through your travels,
yeah. People like to hear they call us hillbillies. I don't know much about that.
Well, you live in the hills, and so I guess that makes you.
Yeah, but I do wear shoes.
You do wear shoes, yeah. But anyway, we do thank Sky High Air Tours for being a sponsor, and Bob Denny was up in that open cockpit, and we were just commenting on that. I've never been up in one. You hadn't either, had
No.
you? He said the wind about took it. If y'all watched the video there, one time he said he nearly lost a gust of wind, nearly took his cell phone out of his hand, and we'd been in trouble then. He'd had landed and scouted around and found that thing.
I can't help but wonder, did he scream a little?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
He ain't gonna tell us either, brother.
No, he ain't gonna tell us. No.
Ashley could tell you.
Ashley. Now, Ashley's the one. Yeah, she was up there too, right? That,
Yeah.
if I understand right, Ashley was up there too. So she's a good sport, though. I'm sure she handled it very, very well. And anyway, we're just tickled that you join us here on Mountain Monday morning, because it is Monday morning. And with all that's been going on, we have a song that I did, a friend of mine wrote that I met over the internet, over Facebook, some friends, Diane and Jerry Sands out in Missouri, and he had written some songs, and I got a hold of, he sent some of them to me, and I got a hold of a couple of them off of the tape that he sent. He sent them on a little cassette tape. Well, I got the list, and I thought, hey, you know, I like this. And Diane follows everything that we do, regardless of what's going on. She's following it and commenting on it. We appreciate you, Diane. We appreciate that
Dedicated
very
fans.
much. And
They like me real well.
yeah. Be sure and comment that you like Mountain Man, because he expects that. He get his feelings hurt if you don't make a comment. Now, we appreciate those comments. But anyway, Jerry has, we lost Jerry not too long after that I did the music and the vocal. I put these songs down, and he was so excited, and we lost him. He is so sad, and when I heard that, it just broke my heart that I lost a dear friend when he passed away shortly afterward. And so sorry for such a loss, and your loss, Diane. When I hear this song, I just remember how excited he was about getting the CD copies of these back, and he had them playing on radio. They played. I mean, these songs have made their way around. So we're going to present one this morning. So why don't we do that right now? And since everybody's had kind of I don't know, since it's Monday morning, and we've all had a little bit of had our share of troubles, at least over the weekend, and even Bob Denny having to go in to get checked out and thumped on and checked out really well.
Kind of worried us a little, didn't he?
Oh man, we can't have that. Just don't let that happen again, Bob. Hey, he'll try. Okay. These things happen, so we've all been kind of under the weather, which is the title of this song, and I think it's appropriate for us to let Jerry's song play now, Under the Weather. just when I thought you really cared. If I could think a perfect thought, yeah, and make that thought come true, I would think of happiness and love for me and you. Feeling down and under the weather today, oh yeah. There ain't much more that I want to say. All right, feeling kind of under the weather, but you know, even under the weather, the sun always comes shining right back through. But you know,
Good
sometimes
song.
the song kind of represents when I got that song from Jerry and I began to put the music to it and the feeling, and you know, we're human. We have those human moments to where that we're down and out, and or something happens that just kind of throws us for a loop, and we have to just kind of deal with life as it comes at us, and so that's part of being human. That's part of our human makeup and our human emotion.
I agree.
Is that we have those times when we're feeling, I guess to use the old cliche, feeling kind of blue, and so I enjoyed putting that song together because, you know, it represents that part of life that we all tend to go through. But we do have that hope. We do have that hope we can look forward to. When we get through a particular situation, we put our faith to work and we put our whole being to work. And hey, I don't want to stay down and under. I want to come back to the surface, breathe some fresh air, go up to the mountaintop, and just look out at the bright sunshine and say, hey, I'm back. So, but anyway, that's life. I want to do something now, like we've said many times here. You never know what to expect on Mountain Monday morning, what's going to happen, what we're going to do, or what may not happen. And so I want to discuss a little bit. I'm a member, have a membership. I have a study at home which contains translations and even the actual photographic and printed reprints of the text of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, if some of you are not familiar with the Dead Sea Scrolls, those were biblical and some other secular and manuscripts that were found over in the Middle East near the Dead Sea, hence the term Dead Sea Scrolls. And it's considered the greatest manuscript discovery of all time in the history of archaeology and the study of ancient scrolls and manuscripts. Well, this is considered the greatest of all time. And as I was relating, I've been studying. I took some Hebrew studies, learned the Hebrew, and even studied some of the Paleo-Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, and so that I could kind of check for myself and see what's actually in some of these manuscripts. And I'm a member of the online Dead Sea Scrolls private study group. And so I get access to some manuscripts that your everyday person, average person, pastor and pew person out in the churches and religious world, they may not have access to. And I find this to be very exciting because when you can confirm, when you claim your faith and you can confirm that faith, especially with the greatest find of all time, of all history, it's just, to me now, it's exciting. And I hope that you'll find the little tidbits. Now, these are just some little tidbits. Now, you got to remember there are hundreds, thousands of copies, fragments written on parchment, dried animal skins with the ink, an ancient form of ink writing on dried animal skins. Some of them on papyri, what's called papyri, from which we get the word paper. So paper comes from the term papyri, which was strips of plants put together to form, well, kind of like a sheet of paper, which usually is made out of wood pulp. And then some of them were written, they've even found some on stone tablets and engraved and sometimes even written with ink on stone tablets. And I'm saying all that to say this, that when you find confirmation of your faith and the scriptures that you place your faith in, when scholars all these years, for over 2,000 years, have never had anything like New Testament writings in Hebrew, only the copies that were made from the Greek, and some of those are pretty old themselves, that date back 4th century. Some of the earliest complete manuscripts of the Greek only date back 900 AD. So we're talking here a manuscript find that backs up scriptures that is 1,000 years or more older than anything that we have ever had. So that's what's so exciting about it. And the reason that I wanted to make some comments on this and give you some little tidbits from it is because I was reading through some of these over the past few days. I thought, hey, I got to share this with the folks that are catching us on radio, because this might excite them too. But the oldest biblical manuscripts in the world, 1,000 years earlier than the oldest manuscript that has ever been found. And they were found at Qumran, a community by the name of Qumran near the Dead Sea Scrolls. And the community was sometimes, the people were called the Essenes, Essenes. And it's sometimes called the Assyrian text, the text by the Essenes. And they were found about 1947. And some of these scrolls, some of them were kind of carted away, whisked away, and not permitted for the average common man to view. Now, I don't like people hiding stuff from me, do you?
No, we're not trying to prove anything here. We're just
relating.
Exactly. It's truth. It's searching for the truth. And not his truth, our truth, of how we like to hide things.
Right. But some of these, there are different opinions and theories as to why some of these were hidden, is because they back up the text that we have in the New Testament. Now, most of these were Old Testament manuscripts. A scroll of Isaiah had the Isaiah scroll. Several copies of what we call the Torah, the books of Moses, were found. In the ancient Paleo, that's the ancient Hebrew writing, that people, they didn't know anything of that nature even existed until they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, and they found this ancient Paleo Hebrew writing of these manuscripts of the Old Testament. And every book has been found to be represented that we even have in the Old Testament, except for the book of Esther. There was no book of Esther found. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't have it. It just means that it was not represented among these scrolls. But anyway, the text, it's some of them very well preserved and some of them just fragments. But anyway, what I wanted to bring out is some of the scrolls that are not really in what we call the canon of Scripture, but that are related to our New Testament. Now, some of these were hidden away probably because it would upset the church world to know that much of their theology and ideas about how we got the New Testament would be poof, destroyed, because the opinion was that it was all, the New Testament was all written in Greek and nothing, you know, that was the language of the time of the first century, that the Greek culture, and it was very influential. But now with the finding of the Dead Sea Scrolls, they found out that the common language was the Hebrew or the Aramaic related, and most of these manuscripts were in the Hebrew and the Aramaic, which is a form of Hebrew that was learned when the Hebrews were in captivity. Very few of these manuscripts were in Greek. So that blows to bits the idea that the New Testament was originally written. Of course, even when I was studying in Bible college and seminary, I wondered then, because I would study about the New Testament, it was written in Greek, and then I'd go study the early church history and biblical history, especially the New Testament, and it would say the earliest known historians, especially one Eusebius, writing along about the 3rd century, I believe it was, said that Matthew was written in Hebrew letters, and that the disciples, the apostles, were writing in Hebrew with Hebrew letters. And I thought, now wait a minute. Here I am being taught that our earliest historians are saying it was written in Hebrew. Then I go to this other theological class and they're telling me it was originally written in Greek. Something's not adding up here. So, for one thing, scholars are being kind of put to an open shame, because now all their lexicons, dictionaries, and word studies, and commentaries, and all that were lifting up the Greek New Testament idea that was originally in Greek, poof, all gone. So that's one reason that they withheld some of these. But now I'm going to give you some tidbits from some that were withheld that were found to be in the Hebrew language. And it's very interesting. But first of all, let me tell you about some of the books that are considered just maybe teachings or their summaries of what they were studying from the scrolls, and they made other scrolls about like their manual of discipline, like this is how we should live this. And this is some background information on where our New Testament came from. It's the first and the earliest background information ever found, and like I say, some of these were kind of hidden away from view and studied only by scholars, but now it's beginning to be permitted to be made public, and I find it very exciting. We had the Son of God scroll, the War scroll, which talks about the Battle of Armageddon in the book of Revelation. As a matter of fact, the first chapter of the book of Revelation and some of the other verses in the book of Revelation are actually in this scroll. And I was shocked when I was reading one likened to the Son of Man with his hair white like wool, walking among the 7 golden candlesticks or menorahs. And when I read that, I thought, that is the first chapter of the book of Revelation right here in the Dead Sea Scrolls, in the War scroll. So when I read that, I thought, man, this is just awesome. And then you have the copper scroll that was written on copper, which gives some secrets about where they, before the Romans came in and destroyed the temple, where that they hid some of the temple treasures. And those temple treasures are being like Indiana Jones, only in real life. They're actually finding some of those temple treasures by following the instructions given from the copper scroll, then you have the the book of Giants, which talks about, this goes back, you remember reading in Jude about Enoch, the seventh from Adam prophesied of these. And it's talking about those fallen angels that came down. In the book of Giants, that's exactly where Jude got his information, and right here it is in the Dead Sea Scrolls. In the book of Giants, you will find exactly what Jude and 1st, 2nd, 3rd Peter, what they were referring to. It's right here in the Dead Sea Scrolls. First century text, first ever known to man. That and no one can say, well, these writers here must have just read the New Testament. No, sorry, folks. This dates back to about the
before the New
Testament. Before any, right about some of these date back to about 20 some odd 30 of the 1st century. So we're finding and reading what wound up in our New Testament before it was ever the New Testament, and right here it is.
Even back
word.
then, Robert, that the old prophets that God chose and used, even what they told, even that came to pass.
Exactly. And here's something interesting too. In scroll, now these scrolls were numbered as they found them. They'd say, well, this is scroll number 4, the 4th one we found, and Q, give the letter Q for Qumran, where it was found, and the cave number actually is what the number numerals indicate. K4, Q246, that number is the number of the fragment of the scroll. And we have in this particular scroll, this was really exciting to me when I actually read the translation of this. 4Q246 scroll fragment is a parallel to Luke's Annunciation text. It dates chapter 1, and it dates chapter 1 of Luke, and this text actually dates back to about 50 BC. This is prior to the 1st century. But they found that the Annunciation, looking forward to the coming of the Messiah, it says he will be called, I will quote from the Dead Sea, from this Dead Sea text, he will be called the Great. He will be called the Son of God. They will call him the Son of the Most High. He will reign over an eternal kingdom. This is almost word for word for what we find in the Annunciation of Luke chapter 1. So they must have been reading and getting the information from these studies like this, or possibly this very study, to know that the Messiah, hey, we're living in that age, and we're living in an age where he's soon going to be returning again, and that's exciting. But anyway, and I mentioned the War Scroll talks about Armageddon. Not only does it talk about Armageddon, there's a New Jerusalem scroll which discusses New Jerusalem and talks about the gates of pearl, the 12 gates with the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. And it talks about the coming of the New Jerusalem and the coming kingdom on a new earth, a new heaven, a new earth, just like we find in Revelation 22. This to me was really exciting, that this was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it's given us word for word information almost identical to what we have in the book of Revelation. Folks, here's a Revelation text of Revelation chapter 22 from the Dead Sea Scrolls. And that's the reason that it's exciting. But anyway, I just want to give you these few tidbits. We've just done gone run out of time. So I didn't know that time was getting that far away from us. So we're gonna have to close out now, and we'll go back out to our final sponsor for this morning, and that's Salsa Knox Dance. Thanks for tuning in.
I'm Waldo Solano, so you want to continue or come to try for the first time with the salsa class here in Sevierville, I can see you next week. So it will be every Tuesday, 7 to 8, all right? If you want to sign out, you can go to my website, salsanox.com. And this is where you can look for you. You learned class today.